There, I'm Anthony Romano, and I have an amazing video for you today because I basically have documented proof of how I built muscle and burned fat within the span of a couple weeks using a keto bulk and cut at the same time. So that sounds like I threw a lot of buzz terms at you. And excuse me because I'm a mess. I've just been, it's quarantine time. I've been writing client applications because everyone's just so many applications during this quarantine. It's crazy. But that's a good thing. And, I only have so many spaces and people are taking advantage of that. So when we're talking about building muscle, burning fat at the same time, what I basically did was, if you watch my videos, I do keto all the time, basically 90% of the year. Been doing it for 8 years, and I'm a big advocate of keto bulking and certain very complicated techniques to build muscle and burn fat at the same time. And basically, I've been doing those for the past few weeks because I'm really trying to build as much muscle as I can and stay lean before starting a cutting process before the summer. And essentially, I decided I was going to use one of my scales. I have a bioelectrical impedance scale, and I love this thing. But basically, I use this scale to assess how much muscle and fat I was building and losing at the same time. And this was just amazing because although these scales, there's never going to be a fully accurate way to measure everything, okay? You got to follow the trends, and you'll see the results that I had because my muscle went up and my body fat went down. And this was only in the span of a month, okay? I keep preaching that you can do these things. You can build muscle and burn fat at the same time, and keto is really one of the only ways to doing this. And even if you don't want to eat fully keto, you can do other methods of carb inclusion, but keto is simply the gateway to being able to do these because of how it allows your body to use fat as a fuel, okay? So it is the prerequisite, okay? Keto is the prerequisite, but for me, I just enjoyed staying keto the whole time, especially during all this quarantine stuff. I wanted to keep my immunity high. But you're going to see through this scale that I basically had the most accurate body measurements I could have had, at least without dishing out a couple $100 for a DEXA scan. Okay, especially because there's not really much ability to go out and do that anyways. This scale is one of the top tier methods to actually assessing your body composition. I'm going to get into the video right now. Make sure you subscribe and like and follow me on Instagram too, okay? And go to my website for merchandise and for coaching and programs that are dropping soon. We also got these amazing Keto Gains scoop neck shirts, okay? And they have the, vintage style writing on there. Love those things. But let's get into the video. I'm going to show you some amazing progress that I've made. And what you can do too with it. Fuck. So, first things first, I'm going to show you the exact scale and the exact app that I use to measure everything, okay? Now keep in mind, you're never going to have a 100% accurate way to measure your body composition. The only way they can really do that is if they measured your muscle and your fat, and you have to be dead for that, which is not really the most optimal way to go about measuring your body composition. So, I'm going to show you the scale and the app because even though these things are not perfect, they're the closest thing we have to perfection, really. And all that really matters is the trends, okay? All that really matters is even if we can't see, to the exact decimal point something is going to be, if it's improving by a steady margin and staying there consistently, that is the best way to measure. That's the most accurate thing we will have access to. Of course, if it was every single day up and down and just not showing any consistency, that would call into the question the efficacy of the whole scale. But keep in mind, whether you choose a caliper, whether you choose measuring tape, whether you choose an electrical scale, as long as you're getting this consistent measurement, we're measuring the difference in every measurement. That is the key variable we're actually measuring here. So it's not so much like, oh, this guy just picked a crappy scale. No, I'm telling you, this is a good quality scale, and it is like a bargain. I actually have a link to it down below because I bought the scale 2 years ago, and it's just unreal, okay? It's called the Renfo scale, and it was 30-something bucks at the time I got it, so I highly recommend this scale. It's a steal, okay? And I've seen other scales like this that cost $100, maybe more, and they all generally work the exact same, okay? Maybe they just have a little bit longer battery life before you charge it. Big whoop. So I'm going to show you the scale, and I'm going to show you the app. So right now, on my screen, you'll see that I have the Renfo app, and basically you have to connect this through Bluetooth, but essentially what happens is it shows you all your stats here, or at least currently. And then you can click and access the trends. You can see everything. So you'll see over here that I have basically the trend section. And you can see in the trend section how I'm just skipping through all the different, sections, basically weight, body mass index, skeletal muscle, fat-free body mass, muscle mass, protein, metabolic age. Everything is there. And realistically, is it 100% accurate? No, but like I was saying, pay attention to the differences between every measurement. A lot of things are consistent, and even though, hey, maybe my body mass index is 1% off of what it's saying, or 5% off, even if we want to say, right? The fact that it keeps consistently hitting a certain range tells me, okay, yeah, my body mass index is probably around where it's saying it is. So it's probably around 24, okay? 23, 24. And now I'm going to get into some of the more, pertinent information here, basically the muscle mass and body fat. So subcutaneous body fat is the body fat that actually appears on your body, or at least visibly, right? And it's not your total fat. It's not the fat around your organs, which everybody has a little bit. But you can see that from these dates, okay? So pay attention to the numbers, because every number I'm going to show from here is relevant, because everything from this the far left measurement is from last summer, okay? Because I just started using the scale again just to show for this month how things have been progressing. So you'll see when I started, I was 10.3 subcutaneous body fat, right? Now, it did go up a bit. And then it went down. So realistically, in the net grand scheme of things, I am up body fat. But that's not really what's most important here. Let's go to the muscle mass, okay? So muscle mass, we have I basically gained 4 pounds of muscle, is what it says. Now, do I think I actually gained fully 4 pounds of muscle? No, but is it realistic that I gained 1 and some extra water weight, or at least something's going up in little areas? Realistically, I feel stronger, and my program I've been implementing right now has been heavily focused on building muscle and staying lean at the same time. That's what a keto bulk is for. Now, could I have done some carb backloading or something during this time and gotten very similar results? Absolutely. But I wanted to keep ketogenic just because I enjoy it. I enjoy how I feel. I have a lot of work. My productivity is through the roof when I stay ketogenic. And also, I believe it's beneficial to keep, wheats, starches, and other carbs out of my body when I'm trying to keep very high immunity. So, because of all the quarantine stuff. So, that's just some other considerations here as to why I felt it was important to stay keto during this time. But let's go back to these measurements. So we know muscle masses went up, and then when we go over to look at bone mass, you can see that staying the same. So even though my whole body mass has went up, right, I've gained some weight. Like, how many pounds have I gained total? I've gained basically 6 pounds throughout this time, throughout this month. And even though, it would be a stretch to say that all of that, or even 4 pounds of that is muscle, to say that none of it is muscle is an even bigger stretch. So realistically, there's absolutely been some muscle gain here. And even if we take the very conservative viewpoint that this is not all muscle as much as it says it is, the trends wouldn't have been as dramatic and as consistent if it didn't indicate muscle growth. Okay, so this is just the editor's note from the quarantine, because I realized that part was a little bit confusing and I didn't quite hit the point on the head where I wanted to. The point is, the trends wouldn't have been as dramatic, and they wouldn't have stayed there for as long as they did if I didn't actually gain muscle, as I explained. It's still a muscle gain. Like, you can't deny it. And I know, because of the way I've set up my program, because I have, 8 years of keto dieting, 10 years of bodybuilding, coaching experience, I've used my trained eye in addition to my, plan to actually build this muscle during this time. And now that I have 4 weeks worth of results that say I am building muscle and losing fat, or at least not gaining too much of it. Maybe I built a little bit of fat at first and then cut it down. Either way, the results are how I'm trying to explain they are. They're exactly as I claim. There's been muscle gain during a 4-week period. You can build plenty of muscle in a keto bulk. People think you can't build muscle in keto. You absolutely can. And I've explained this in other videos. That's not the topic of this video, but that's the point here. So when we get into, I've gained muscle, I've no doubt, right? Even if we can't put our finger on it exactly, I know it's there because that's been my plan. That was my goal for this video, which I planned out a month in advance. So let's go back to other variables that have stayed the same, because I showed that the net body mass has increased, but I want to show you that other things have stayed stable, just to, further bolster the accuracy of this scale, okay? So protein has stayed almost the exact same. So there are some things this scale can detect very well, and if I wasn't clear about how the scale actually works, it sends a very small electrical current through your body and basically measures the rebounding effect of that to see what each of these measurements are. So example, there will be a certain amount of current that gets basically sent back from the water in your muscles, etc., etc. And different tissues will respond in different ways, so it can measure those numbers of the feedback and basically determine, okay, the types of current that would have been from body fat, the types of current that would have been from a density of muscle are basically responding in a certain quantity. So that's kind of how this whole thing works. And even like bones are very dense, so it generally can detect bone density to a very high accuracy. So let's go over to other markers here. So let's see what we got here. Body water. So a lot of people probably think that this is water weight mainly, and you can see that my water weight has actually went down. Now keep in mind, this is a percentage. This is 63% of my body mass. Now my body mass is now 6 pounds heavier, but it was previously 63.5. So realistically, this is another example where the interval is so small, the difference is so small that it probably means I've stayed the same, but the fact that it is detecting a very slight decrease, and you combine that with the consistency that it's detecting that decrease with, it's accurate to a certain point, okay? So overall, you can see that, everything has shown a positive trend, okay? Body fat has went down on the whole, or it stayed very similar. It actually went up at one point, and then I cut some more while I built the more bulk of the muscle, pun intended. But you know what? Another point I actually want to bring up here is when you look at the muscle growth, right? So let's look at this little muscle mass area here, okay? So when I click on the dates of these things, okay, the rate of muscle increase also adds to the validity of basically the markers here, because it's not as if this all went up in a day, okay? If my muscle mass was going up in a day, that would probably be highly indicative of, it would just be water weight. It's just water weight at that point. But because this has went up over the course of a month, and it really never exceeded 1 pound gained per month, or 2 pounds even, it generally is a steady stream of increase, which, it means it's less volatile, which means that it's less of just the scales just grabbing at straws and trying to just, just see my total mass increase and just say that it's something, okay? This thing is accurate enough, and in case it wasn't clear, I'll show you the actual scale now. So, it's sturdy. This is the actual scale. Basically, it has these 4, silver little circles here, because that's where your feet go, and you gotta make sure you clean this thing thoroughly. But this thing, you charge it. You can also get the one with batteries, but charging it just makes it so easy. It's like a couple bucks more, but I'm telling you, it's worth it, because nobody wants to change batteries in a scale, and when you're in the morning and you're in a rush, things can be different. And side note, I measured myself fasted every single day, so I generally eat at the same times every day. There were no other external variables influencing my numbers. Like, it wasn't as if I had a full belly of food or something. Measure myself same time every day in the morning, and same number of meals every day. Again, to add to the scientific method I tried to use here. Because again, this is a case study. People say, oh, this is anecdotal. This is a case study, guys. This is not meant to be, I don't have access to funding studies. But maybe one day that is a goal of mine. But I'm already convinced of these methods from all the research I've done over these years of keto dieting and bulking and how it works. So yeah, that's essentially, an area that I'm not worried about how accurate it is there, because I'm already convinced of the validity of these methods because I've done them for years. So it was simply a test to verify something that I was already, very well aware of its existence. So this is the scale. I mean, kudos to Renfo. My buddy showed me this scale 2 years ago, and it's fantastic. I mean, plenty of people have scales like these. If you find that it's very volatile, I'd recommend switching to the Renfo scale, but realistically, any bioelectrical impedance scale should do the trick, because they're all going to be made very similarly. But I just think this is the best one. Now, and I'm not getting paid by Renfo, I just like their product, and I've had it for 2 years now. The thing too, keep in mind, this is all during the quarantine. This is during home training with my home gym that's half built up, okay? You can build muscle at home, and I've been using very high volume golden era approaches during this, okay? Because that's the way I like to train. I've heavily referenced the work of Vince Gironda and other classic bodybuilding styles. But essentially, high volume training that's not necessarily, that's a good combination of time and attention and strength, is the key to building muscle. And when you combine it with the right diet, that is the key to staying lean while building muscle and perhaps even burning body fat at the same time. If you want to learn more about that, you can watch my carb backloading video. That'll explain the mechanisms a little bit more. But the point is here, that is the training style that makes the body respond in the most effective way for building muscle because it's an adaptive stressor on your body. Your body needs to know that it's getting a large amount of stimulus, and essentially it's increasing the amount of lactic acid that goes and fills up your muscle, because your body is basically going to adapt to an evolutionary pressure of, oh shit, we can't fit this much lactic acid in your bicep. So it has to grow to accommodate that. That is how the body works. It's a adaptive survival machine. And I explain this often, but that is why my programs work. That is why people are getting good results from my videos, from everything, all these other random techniques that I'm putting out here. So I highly recommend you to go to my website if you want to work together while I still have spaces, and hopefully while I get these programs out too, that'll be beneficial for you. There's just been a lot on my plate this time, but seriously, thank you for watching this video. Like it, please, and subscribe to me right now if you're not, because too many people watch these videos and don't subscribe. And also follow my Instagram too, because I post cool stuff there, and that is really all I need to do to promote my Instagram there. Just I post cool stuff. Okay, my name is Anthony Romano. Peace.